Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Pod Strickland. I'm your host, Shwin and Prez. This is episode 437. I am joined, as always, by my co-host Prez. That is at underscore Presidente on Twitter. Prez, how are you doing?
I'm good. Just counting down the days till World Series Game One.
Yes, World Series Game 1 the same night as Knicks Game 2 of the regular season against the Indiana Pacers. We're going to talk about the Knicks. Maybe less about the Yankees, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Before we get started, I do have to make a few announcements. First, being that Strickland has a YouTube channel, which you might be on right now watching this podcast. If you are and you've not done so already, please hit like, subscribe to the channel. That'd be a huge help to us. The Strickland also has merchandise, which you can find on our website at www.thestrick.land. There's a link that'll take you to the merchandise store. There's all kinds of cool stuff that you can find on there, like t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, coffee mugs, water bottles, you name it, we've got it. The Strickland also has a Patreon, which you can subscribe to. There are a number of different tiers. There's a $6 tier that gets you access to Pod Strickland's podcast that I host every Friday with Prez. You also get access to Takes from Obvious Bozos, a podcast hosted by Andrew Steele, aka Doug, along with Zach Blatter. And you get access to the Strickland Discord with the conversation never stops. There are further tiers. There's a $9 tier that gets you access to Strickland Roll, my solo pod where I rant and rave about the Knicks even more. You also get access to wonderful premium articles by Matthew Miranda, one of the best in the business. And you get access to Strictly NFL, which you guessed it is an NFL podcast that is hosted by Konstantin Metrikos and Desmond Novak. There are further tiers. There's a $15 tier, $30 tier, $50 tier, and $100 tier. Those come with a variety of additional benefits, like listening in on pod recordings, merchandise discounts, and even potentially co-hosting a podcast alongside yours. Truly, one day, whether you choose to subscribe or not, none of this would be possible without you. And none of this would be possible without BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in our $200,000 mega contest to pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to an online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. Well, the next season started. They might not know it on the defensive end anyway, but their regular season did start. They got walloped by the defending champion Boston Celtics 132-109 on opening night, the opening game of the season. I already talked about this on the post game, but Prez, I don't know if you wanted to share your feelings and thoughts about the Knicks' opening game debacle.
I mean, a lot of it has been talked about. One thing I'm interested in is secondary offense. We got, our off. So first of all, like, I don't think our offense was the main issue. Obviously, our defense was a bigger issue. I do think we were hyper efficient on the shots that Boston wanted us to take, which is something that I haven't seen as discussed as much. Like, just in terms of raw efficiency, whatever, it was like, what, like 50 something percent, 40 something
I mean,
percent.
it was
Yeah.
1.24 points per possession,
Yeah.
according to Cleaning the Glass. So that
Yeah.
eliminates all the nonsense, garbage time, like campaign
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Campaign, as it's known, campaign time. No, I think in the second half we saw more of um we saw an adjustment from Tibbs and from Bridges and other people, which was like, okay, if they're gonna be like up our ass at the 3 point line and you're not gonna pull the trigger quickly, you gotta put it on the deck, right? Like OG and McCall are a lot of things when they're going good, but they're not about to have like hair triggers like Dante or Jalen or anything like that. Um, and they're not going to do, step backs like Randall or something. So uh, if a team is going to close out on you super hard, like the first half, they were just panicked a lot of the time. It still resulted in good shots, which just shows you how much talent the Knicks have on offense. But like OG and McCallum specifically and Hart, they would like see the pressure and then just be like, oh, like just take a couple dribbles to figure out what to do and then do stuff. In the second half, Macau is just like, man, fuck this. Like, I'm just gonna, like Al Horford at the rim doesn't scare me, whatever. I'm just gonna like put it on the deck and go. So that's nice, and I expect like many elements of the offense, uh, they will in the future not require Tibbs halftime adjustments, and they can just do those things themselves because they're all smart players. In time, probably a little bit of.
We good?
Yeah, my pharmacy was calling me. Uh,
Damn.
Probably picking up my anxiety medicine, which I will need for the World Series. So very important stuff.
Is that what they call marijuana nowadays?
No, that's separate, but also for the same diagnoses. Together, they make a wonderful combination. What was I saying? Offense. Okay, so yeah, that was that. The defense, like you can't really. It's just fucking tough. I got a video coming out soon on the defense from game one because the question I was wondering about was like, okay, some elements of this defense clearly suck or sucked rather on that day. How much of it, like, I wanted to take another look at Towns really, and there was a lot of plays where he fucked up. But I wonder, like, on those plays, was it always his fault, or was he reacting to other fuck ups, or amplified by other fuck ups, etc.? And what kind of fuck ups he made? Because like, there's this notion, I think, among Knicks fans. I think everybody knows that he's not, Mitch or Ihart on defense. A lot of Knicks fans know he's not as bad as he used to be as well. Like, minutes, he's been playing a lot of minutes on a great defense for a long time now, both at the 4 and the 5. But I don't think, because understandably, most Knicks fans were not fucking locked in for Minnesota Timberwolves games. They don't actually know like what he's good at and what he's bad at. Me included. Even that, like, I knew, like, I wasn't fucking watching Timberwolves games outside of the playoffs for the most part. They're a team that confuses me, and the teams that confuse me, I just tend to ignore and rely on you and Stacy and other people to tell me the takes. And
brave choice to depend on me and Stacy.
Listen, it doesn't always work out, but I'm also very lazy, and we share a podcast, so this is the easiest way for me to go about this. So, so with Cat, it was interesting. We saw him in different coverages. We saw him in shallow drop. We saw him at the level. We saw him hedging forward. We didn't see him really switch. I know you had been talking, for example, about like him being better in aggressive coverages, and I definitely saw some of that. But he was like,
he was not locked in defensively. I don't know what was going on with them. I mean, the entire team, to be honest. In that sense.
100%, 100%. Like, he was doing the shit like. It was funny. Like, in the beginning of the game, he was doing like beginning of the pickup game shit. Like, oh, I'm gonna look at you, Al Horford, at the 3-point line. That's my defense. And then you make one. All right, you can shoot. I'll D up next time. That was what he was doing. And then, like, even in the second half, when they were trying to like lock in and like sort of fake mount a comeback, and they switched to the more aggressive coverages, he was just very upright a lot of the time. And when he was like hedging, he did this thing where he would try to like almost like dry hump the player to like bump them and then get back to his man. And I'm just like, that's not the technique for a hedge. Like, standing straight up and like pelvic thrusting Jason Tatum 30 feet away is not helping anybody. So
it's helping Jason Tatum.
It's helping Jason Tatum. So there's like a lot of the times it was less Cat doesn't know what's going on and more just execution.
Yeah. I mean,
whereas for other guys, it was a lot of the times they just didn't know what was going on. And in Macau's case, it was both. He sometimes didn't know what was going on, and also just he was terrible at executing. Like you said, like, he was just mentally. You could tell he was not ready for Al Horford to come out and set like playoff moving.
They were not ready for
The intensity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the intensity that Boston played with. That was very, very clear throughout the game. I would be lying if I said I was unconcerned about that. It's always concerning if you don't have the requisite intensity. But it's just the first game of the season. I think there are a lot of teams in the opening game of the season that maybe you don't have the you can come out a little flat and okay, after like the first 7-8 minutes of the game, you're like, okay, no, let's lock in here. We're good to go. Boston was not one. Boston was, I mean, they were on it. Yes, in that game, they were on it from right from the tip. You could tell that they were,
Hey,
you
yo.
know, yeah, yeah, but you could tell they were very much like,
Yeah.
hey, we're the defending champs. We're not here just to like celebrate winning last year. We're here to get
Wanted to
another.
get us the fuck out of there. And
Yeah,
not us because we were the Knicks, but us because we were the first opponent.
yeah,
Like,
they were on a mission, and credit to them, they played fucking great. I also think some of this is like, look, you can sit here and talk about defensive coverages until we're blue in
yeah.
the face, but if Jason Tatum's going to hit fucking 5 pull-up threes, and if Derek White is just he was hitting like there was a three he took at the start of the second half, right at the beginning of the third quarter, where like Tatum just swings it out to him. He's about like 4 or 5 feet probably behind the arc at the top of the key. He had two guys closing on him, I think. He just raised up and drained it. And I'm just like, all right. I mean, and some of this is like, and I'm not, look, I think the
It's
main,
not it's not an excuse. Like you'll see in the video I make, there's some like because basically I look at all the possessions, many of which end in threes that involve Towns, and I'm just narrating like what I think the Knicks could have or should have done. And sometimes I'm just like well, and because it's just like the Knicks mostly did what they like. Maybe it wasn't A plus, but instead it was like A minus or B plus, and it just didn't fucking matter because someone at the end of the possession was like, "Fuck you, I'm hitting a 30-foot super quick release three or whatever."
yeah. And yeah, I mean, it was just that was some of it. I mean, the main thing for me, and I've talked about this before, often with regards to our now long lost friend, Julius Randle. If you start games and are not kind of into it defensively, teams can and look, they when you're making shots, this is definitely the case, but you allow teams to get into a rhythm. And Boston got into a rhythm very, very quickly. The Knicks allowed them to get into a rhythm very, very quickly. And from that point forward, it was like, yeah, I mean, even when you get a good contest, because they're just so comfortable, it doesn't even matter. So like that was part of it. Their backside rotations were fucking awful.
So
Like
bad,
they
so
were
bad.
really
And
bad.
you'll see in the video, like the majority of the video is like, okay, Jason Tatum is white hot. The Knicks apply pressure, and the backside rotation is a complete and utter failure, like over and over. And the whole team, OG, Jalen, McCall, fucking Hart, like everybody, Cat.
Yeah, they were late on rotations. Then there were times where two guys are rotating to the same guy, or oh fuck, I am supposed to rotate, so you're a half step slow. Like they got to communicate better. That was very like I think the main, and I think this happens when you have like, okay, you added Mikal Bridges, you added Karl Anthony Towns, so you've got two new starters right there. Josh Hart, prior to the Cat trade, we were not expecting him to start. Now he's starting. Um, like, so you're got a lot of moving pieces here, and it felt like nobody wanted to step up and be the man in this instance, like in terms of taking charge defensively, talking. Now, obviously, the preference is for that to be the center, but I think it doesn't really matter in this. Like somebody has to step up here and start communicating, directing guys, calling things out. Like you talked about Mikal Bridges, and like he didn't have a great night defensively for sure, and definitely not offensively. Although then he turned it around in the third quarter, and it actually ended up with like he was 7 of 13 from the field. It was a weird game for Mikal Bridges. But defensively, like I actually felt bad for him. One, because I don't fucking know why Tibbs decided to put him on Tatum, which is a bad matchup for him. And two, like you can see on some of these, so Horford's coming out super high and setting these screens for Tatum, and like Cat's not communicating. Nobody's letting him know who's there, and it's not just Cat, by the way. It wasn't just like Cat was the whole problem. It was multiple guys because there were times they were screening with a small or whatever it was, and guys aren't communicating. They're not telling him, like where the screen is, and then he's fucking runs full speed into it, and it's like, all right, yeah, he gets caught up on it. And I think the easy thing to do is blame Mikal Bridges. And it's like, well, you're supposed to be this really good defender. We traded 58 picks for you. Like, what the fuck? But I thought he got hung out to dry on a lot of those plays too by his teammates. So like, this was a collective failure defensively. Like there's nobody that emerges from this game with a bunch of credit defensively, because it was not like OG, I thought, had a good first half defensively. And then in the second half, I think the Celtics came out. They immediately hit like 2 threes, and I think the Knicks were just like, all right, it's over. Like we're done here. We're not really ever going to get back into this game. And they kind of gave up. And honestly, I think part of the reason they were somewhat lax and lackadaisical overall in this game, I tweeted it out in the first half. Like this was as preseason-y as Tibbs has ever treated a regular season game. Like
and you even saw after the game with his quotes.
I don't
remember what it was, but I just remember being like, "Wow, that was shockingly casual response for Tibbs."
Yeah, I mean, I think he was definitely trying different things, different lineups. I wonder if some of the reason why their approach was what it was is because they knew coming into the game that Tibbs was still going to be experimenting with stuff. Whatever the case is, obviously your effort needs to be better than that. And look, you're playing a Pacers team that we well know if you don't have it off defensively, they're going to light you up, or at least they have the capability to light you up. So it is incumbent upon the Knicks to, look, I think we can all understand like the defensive communication and like the kind of playing on a string in terms of rotations. If that's not there, I think we all can accept that and are okay with that. The issue is when that is also combined with poor effort. That to me is obviously problematic. And I'm not losing my mind over this, because I do think there was very much a preseason air about this for the Knicks. Obviously not for the Celtics. They were, again, very locked in. But you cannot continue that for much longer. So Indiana comes in tomorrow night. We saw what they can do offensively in the playoffs last year against our Knicks. And that's that. One thing I will say, though, I saw like there were definitely random Knicks Twitter accounts after this game that were like, oh, like, I can't believe we gave up Randall and Dante.
Yeah,
what do you think? What do you think Randall and Dante are doing that game? Honestly, like, okay, maybe Dante is shooting more. He's definitely going to shoot more threes than anybody else shot on the team. Defensively, not really helping you anywhere in this game. And like Randall, really, like, look, I just want to remind you, by the way, if we had not done this trade, the starting lineup for this game, it would have been Brunson, it would have been Mikal Bridges, it would have been OG Anunoby, it would have been Julius Randle, and then it would have been Jericho fucking Sims at center. 100%. That would have been the starting lineup if we did not do the Cat trade. I don't think, I'm not saying that justifies the trade. I'm just saying, let's not pretend that if we hadn't done the trade, all of a sudden our defense would have been exponentially better or something. Well, they were going to get lit up whether they did the trade or whether they did not do the trade. That's not how we're going to determine the success of this move.